Everyone, welcome to the regularly scheduled Sewer Commissioners meeting for December 14, 2021. As usual, we'll begin with a roll call, starting with Corey.
Corey White, sewer foreman.
Lynn Fuller, sewer secretary.
David Pierce, Commissioner.
Tim Redmond, Commissioner.
Michael Trank, Hoyle Tanner and Associates.
Chet Bowen, Select Board Rep.
Danielle Basora, Finance Director and Assistant Town Administrator.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Okay, the first order of business, as usual, is our public comment. So at this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. The next item on the agenda.
Just, Mr. Chair, just for the record, our third Commissioner, Daniel Taylor, is absent tonight.
I could see that, but I didn't want to offer,
just-
I don't want to go into personal, he's just not here.
I understand.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's why I wanted to do it.
So there's only two of us here tonight out of three. Approval of the minutes from November 9th. I guess Lynn emails these to us, the minutes from November 9th.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, November 9th.
As presented.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion on the motion?
I assume you're seconding it?
I seconded the motion, thank you. Forgot that I had the
No,
second.
I have no changes.
I don't normally second the motion. Okay, so since there's no discussion on it, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the minutes from November 9th are accepted as presented. Okay, Lynn, you have some stuff on our agenda here. Could you tell us what the first one is, the encumbrances?
Yep, Danielle is going to go over that with us. She gave you those two papers you're looking at right now are part of what she's talking about, and there are a couple of things in the packet also that come right after your minutes. It's all in order.
Okay, so I will turn it over to Danielle. Please identify yourself one more time, Danielle.
Danielle Basora, Finance Director and Assistant Town Administrator. So we're actually going to start with one of them that's not listed as a separate issue because it combines with the encumbrances, but the retainage request for release has come from SUR Construction, and that was the 2019 construction project contract, and the work was completed in 2020.
Okay.
So
And
the
what is
sewer foreman has provided a letter.
But the date is wrong.
The date is.
Yeah, I put 2020, not 2019. I just noticed that.
So it is 2019.
It is 2019 sewer replacement project. That was one of my questions. So that
Let's stop right now, we gotta find the letter. Where's the letter?
It's
I
right
did
after the
work in
minutes.
2020. I have
Your
2020
packet's
printed
in
my
order,
packet.
so nope, stay right there. So agenda, then the minutes,
Okay, thank you.
and then the letter is next.
Corey, could you please let us know what your letter states?
It states that SUR completed all the work that they were supposed to, and they did a great job. So
Okay.
they're all set to get the rest of their money.
Okay. Commissioner Pierce, any comments or questions from our sewer fund?
Danielle, I'm sorry, we're returning what to the firm?
So there was, in the contract, there was a retainage that was held, a portion of their work, and now that the work is complete and it's been held for the required length of time, which was 1 year, I believe, from completion, that they're now asking that those funds be turned over unless there's any concern with the quality
Thank you,
of work.
Danielle. So based on the information that the firm SUR has successfully completed all their requirements for the 2019 sewer replacement project, my motion is to return the retainage that the town holds.
I'd like you to state the balance, the number for the retainage.
Danielle, the balance is?
On the memo, it's the one at the bottom of your page. The amount in there as of right now is $41,467.80.
And include that in my motion.
Yeah, the amount, please.
For the amount of
$41,467.80.
Yeah.
And where was that number in our,
It's in the
it's in the memo here?
memo that I provided. That's just a draft memo because I wasn't sure if there would be a motion tonight.
Okay. So Commissioner Pierce has made a motion to return the $41,467.80 to SUR Construction based on the letter from sewer foreman that the work has been done successfully. And I'll second Dave's motion. Do we have any discussion on our motion, Dave?
Fine.
Okay, so we'll have a vote on that.
I vote yes.
All those in favor say yes. I do also vote yes. Okay. All right, so that takes care of that.
Yep, so the next one then, the full encumbrance list that you see, that's the landscaped page in front of you. We'll actually have a change. The prior year PO that was previously encumbered and still active was also for that same project, which we were holding open because we weren't sure if the work just came in under budget or what, but from the sounds of it, the work is complete.
For which item, Danielle?
The last item you see on the page, it is 2020 fiscal year, PO number 44 for SUR Construction. And there's a balance on that PO from the original contract of $118,000.
So that was money we did not spend.
Correct.
Okay.
And that does not include the retainage funds that you just voted on because those are held separately in escrow.
Okay.
So based on the fact that the work is completed, from what the discussion was, I would ask that we amend this to release that PO back to the sewer funds, and so we would just close out the balance. And then the other two items that are still open are from 2021, and you see those at the top of your page. One is for catch basin cleaning for Belmore. They have a balance of $5,480. I don't know if the work that was planned for 2021 has yet been completed for Belmore.
Well, we'll start with Corey, he can answer that.
It has.
It has?
Yep.
So our total expense for Belmore catch basin maintenance for this year was only $14,520. And how many feet of line was he able to clean?
All
Did
of it and then some.
You got your 44,000 or what the ballpark number
Yeah.
is you shoot for?
Yeah, it was more, we actually did more than required.
Okay. So, why was that a PO then? Why wasn't that just a line item that we were spending out of the line? Why did it turn into a PO?
So because the invoices were coming in as over $3,000 on occasion based on how much work was completed at the time it was invoiced, the purchasing policy requires that we have a PO for anything that's above that threshold. So I had advised Lynn that the easiest way to go about it, because the commission had already voted on having them as the contractor for this project, to just encumber the funds up front. She could pay off of it throughout the year, which makes her PO or her AP entry a lot more efficient because she's just drawing off of one PO. And then we can just close out at the end of the year once the work is done, the money returns. It remains in the line the whole time, but it just liquidates back to the fund.
And so that was the first one for catch basin maintenance, so we're obviously gonna put that back in. What was your second one?
The second one, right below that, is the one that you had voted at on the previous meeting, November 17th, I believe was the date. That's the one for the new contract with Engrenice. And then the last one we had just talked about was SUR. So from the sounds of it, the only one that's really carrying forward is the Engrenice one.
Yes.
And I already have a motion for that from the previous meeting. So I'll just revise this and bring down the copy for your signatures this evening.
Okay, because
That's okay.
it seems to me there's signature bars on this one. It has to be,
Yes, but this one was just a draft, because now that we're closing out a couple of them, I'll get you a final copy that doesn't have.
so do we need a motion to close these out in your financial opinion?
That would be preferred.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, a motion to close out, to release the encumbrances that are being held for two projects, Belmore Catch Basin Cleaning 2021, to release $5,480. And for SUR Construction West, the 2019 sewer replacement project, release $118,132.63.
Okay, now is that the correct term, release the money, Danielle, or is it return? What is the terminology for that? So we have to-
Release is correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the motion's made to release both those funds back to the sewer enterprise fund, and I second the motion. Discussion on the motion, Dave? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, and motions passes. So both those items now are released back to the sewer enterprise fund.
Yes, thank you. And then that was it for the encumbrance line. I don't know if it's the chair's pleasure to go next to the sewer reduction request, or if you wanted to jump ahead to the tax collector's deed.
Let's do the tax collector's fees while, because you're gonna stay for them. Let's get you, so you can go home.
Okay.
So let's talk about map 16, lot 191A, a tax collector's deed. Lynn, this is the standard annual deed we have to look at for the tax collector for
No.
tax deeded properties?
This isn't, well, yes, this isn't the one that we normally look at where we're writing off small amounts of money in interest. This is a property that the town deeded and took from the owner for non-payment of taxes and sewer. Danielle will explain the rest of it.
Okay.
So you have a copy in your packet of a memorandum from the tax collector, including all of her backup. As Lynn indicated, this property was up for tax deeding and was on your list that was reviewed earlier in the fall. The select board had provided the property owner with a 30-day extension to try to arrange funding. And in the end, that did not come through. So the property was tax deeded per the current RSAs. And so now the next step in the process is the select board advises and directs the tax collector and then the treasurer to write off any existing balances. We take a snapshot of, as of the date of deeding, where we take the balances, costs, fees, everything that's included, and that gets written off into a separate account. So it's written off of the tax collector's book, but it's not written off in the term that it goes away. It just moves to a separate account where it is held until such a time as the person either repurchases the property for the full cost plus any new costs, or the property is sold and then it's recuperated.
So if we agree to the total write-off this evening of $1,823.03, if the town ultimately takes this property and sells it, does the town of Goffstown repay us the $1,823.03?
Yes.
We're not forgiving it, we're just
No.
writing it off and...
We're just moving it into the deeded property line so that it can be tracked on the town's financials separately.
So sooner or later, something's gonna happen. How much time does the property owner have to repurchase the property?
They have 2 years to make repurchase. In the meantime, any bills that would be generated would be under the town's name. So the property taxes and the sewer bill are been transitioned to the town's name. And then once they repurchase, all those new costs are also added to their repurchase costs.
And is interest added over the course of the
Yes.
next 2 years?
Yes, the interest is a different interest rate, which is why they have us move it to a different account.
Okay.
It goes up slightly based on the state's interest.
So it's a
value.
fair statement that this property will either be repurchased or sold, and the sewer commission will be made whole for this money, plus
Correct.
any additional interest.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So in the 2 years, do I change the name of the owner to the town of Goffstown and send a bill to the town of Goffstown?
Yes, and you actually already did for the last bill of this year.
Okay.
Because you were notified of the change through the regular process when the county receives and records the tax deed.
Okay.
They notify the town that this is the new name, so it goes through its normal process and was captured in that way.
Okay.
So we did receive the second half bill.
And did
Now,
you pay it?
It was included in this list because the majority of the time that the property was occupied by that owner, so it was already included as part of their snapshot.
So in the future, will you pay it? In May, will you pay it, or will it?
I
get
think,
moved,
I would
or-
say this, if the house gonna be empty, as we know, or is the house gonna be living in it?
Currently, they are still residing in the home. The next step would be that if they do not make an agreement with the select board to repurchase the property within, we usually give them 30 to 60 days, then we will proceed with the eviction process, which would go through the formal
So
eviction process.
I would say that the sewer commission would bill the town of Goffstown for the sewer use until such a time as you evict those tenants, then you can apply for an abatement because the building is empty.
Yep.
And then
That
we would
sounds-
abate those sewer fees until such a time as the house is sold or reoccupied.
Okay, that
Okay.
sounds reasonable.
Fair with that, David?
Yes.
All right, so, to help Dave out here, I'll make a motion to, agree to the total write-off of $1,823.03 for the outstanding balances as of 11/2/21 for the property located at 53 Fairview Street, map 16, lot 191A, as the town of Goffstown is taking, steps to deal with the unpaid taxes on that property.
Second the motion?
Okay, motion made and seconded. You have that, Lynn?
Yep.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the motion passes.
I think that's all I had.
Good.
for
I'm
this
glad
evening.
you're helping us out with all this stuff. Thank you very much. Excuse me, I'll silence my own phone.
So I'm just gonna
Sorry
run
about that.
upstairs and get a final draft prepared of the encumbrance list so that
Take your
you can
time.
sign it while
We
you're
have a few minutes to do
here.
other things here. at the
Okay.
table. Thank you very much.
Thank
And if
you.
you get it done, just bring it over here and slide it right in. We'll sign it and send it right back to you.
All right,
You don't need to
perfect.
reappear.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a good evening.
we're gonna
Thanks,
back up one. Corey White has is his name next, is a sewer reduction request for 1 Pinard Street. Corey, do we have any paperwork on this in our packet tonight?
Yep. It's, this, the next one, it was all in order. The next
Okay.
one is
Okay, I
showing
move-
dear Goffstown Sewer Commission.
Oh, okay, sorry, I moved too many papers at once. Okay, so, Corey, could you fill us in on what's going on here?
So Charlie's moved into the old Cody's Diner.
Okay?
They redid the entire place. And actually significantly reduced the number of seats in the building.
Okay,
They're paper service only, and I think 4 employees, or 8 employees. The old Cody's Diner was being billed at 6 treatment units, and as it states, after going through and doing a calculation, counting all the seats and adding it up, they're really only using 2 treatment units.
that includes all the people who work there, you've included all the employees.
Yep.
Thank you. So when it says they are paper service, in other words, they're just everything, they're serving,
They're not washing any dishes. Everything goes out on a paper plate and gets thrown in the trash.
and what about their cookware? You included that in their calculations?
That goes in with the restaurant calculation.
Okay. What is their type of business, Corey?
It's a restaurant, takeout. You can eat in, but that's where the paper service comes in.
It's a place that used to be in the Mobile in Pinardville, right across from McDonald's there.
Oh, all right. So, you've considered all this carefully, and this is your opinion that this is a valid request, and this is your...
Absolutely, yeah. They're paying way too much.
Okay, and then, should anything, they have to be notified that should anything change, we have the right to reconsider. That includes adding outdoor seating or anything else, because this is a line in the sand today with these folks.
Yep.
If they want to add outdoor seating, they're going to have to change their treatment units.
Exactly. If anything changes, they go to, regular plates and dishes, then this
But
gets
how do
recalled.
we monitor stuff like this, Corey? Do you
I eat
have, do
there
you have
all
to
the
go in there
time.
and buy lunch once in time?
I eat there all the time. I love their food.
Okay, all right, so you're gonna be our monitor? Good. All right, so, discussion with us, Dave? So, Corey's recommendation is to reduce it to 2 treatment units. So...
The 6 stays with the building. They're just gonna be billed for 2 because that's what they're using. Just to make that clear. The 6 treatment units will always stay with the building.
The connection fee.
The connection fee, all that stays the same. It's just their monthly bill, their quarterly bill or whatever it is,
Yep.
is
So,
what gets reduced.
if they were to leave the premises, someone could go back in at the same capacity
As it was.
And be
it's-
charged 6 treatment units,
Mhm.
but not in excess of the 6 treatment units?
And they wouldn't have to pay an accessibility fee.
No,
Yes,
they
if
would
they
not.
went above
Right.
6 treatment units, then they would get hit with an accessibility fee.
Okay, that means expanding the building, basically.
Yep.
Okay. Dave, you want to make the motion, or you want me to?
You may.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the request for the applicant Costas Troupakis for,
One Bernard.
yeah, I thought
There's no map.
okay, it's just for 1 Pinard Street, the former Cody's Diner, to change his rate from 6 treatment units to be billed at a new rate of 2 treatment units.
Second?
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes. Okay, Corey. Okay, now the next thing is the Lewis Street discussion. I asked Lynn to put that on the agenda. I've been working with Dave on some things. Dave, I'd like you to report on your work in the field with Corey and Eric, please.
The town engineer, Eric,
He's not actually our town engineer. That's
Well-
not his title.
Engineer tech.
Tech, engineer tech.
Make sure it's correct.
And Corey and I visited Lewis Street a week and a half ago, and with a metal detector, I think we discovered either 6 to 8 pins on one side or the other side of Lewis Street. Sufficient number of pins to best fit a 40-foot wide road to all those pins. One of the pins had a professional engineer stamp on it, which was good to find that at least. The others were iron rebars or pipes that were put in on property corners.
Okay. So after Dave...
That was the intent, is to be able to, with some degree of accuracy, lay out the center line of the road. And then from that center line, we can stake off the boundary lines of the houses on the left and right side of the road. The road is 40 feet wide.
So I had a conversation with Dave about all this, and I had a subsequent conversation with Eric, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to, and I've had this conversation with Dave, that we'd like to have the problems addressed before they arise when Louis Street goes under construction this coming spring. I have asked Eric and Corey to return to the street and put in grade stakes on the found points, the iron pins, the rods and such, which represent their presumed corners based on historic data. Eric is also going to do the, as David explained, the best fit 40-foot right-of-way line, straight line as best he can. And when he's going to place flags on that right-of-way line. In some cases, they actually hit the pins. In some cases, they're inside of the pins on the street side a little bit, so they actually get a little more. This is in an effort to be able to have Dave's letter, which he had worked on modifying, finally sent out to the customers on that street. And David and I discussed the possibility of having a public hearing in February possibly for this April project, and invite any of the public that are on that street to come in for questions and answers as best we can. Most importantly, the ones that have placed walls and trees and such in the right-of-way, because one of our contract lines is to move those items out of the right-of-way and move them back onto their properties, so that they understand why we're doing it and what we're doing. I'm also going to have to ask Corey to go down and photograph each property on the street, so that when we do our presentation here with the public, Dave is going to download them, put them on the camera, and we're gonna put the picture on the screen of their property, and we can show them exactly where the pink flags are, where the property pins are, and where the proposed right-of-way is, and where we're gonna move their things to. So, it's a kind of a moving target here, but I think that, Dave, could you please sign it? Excuse me, I think this is in our best interest to try to resolve problems before they begin. So, having said that, I'll ask for input from either Selectman Bowen or Corey on our idea and how we want to progress with this, and any changes you might think that need to be made to move forward.
I just had one question before we move forward. It states here that you want to have it at Bartlett. Are we going to be able to have, it has to be taped, will GTV be able to tape
When did we
it there?
decide, when was?
No, that's in my draft letter, Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
okay, I didn't read it.
On the shaded area in the bottom.
Okay,
That's a hearing.
do we want to?
So I brought up the idea
Okay.
that potentially our public hearing could be at Bartlett,
Well, that would be convenient for
because it
them.
would be very convenient to our sewer customers.
What is the arrangement we have to make to use the school? Do we have to go through the school department? and
Yes.
Make a formal request?
I've done that myself many times because of Lions Club activities, so
And they've
I'm
been
familiar
fairly,
with how to
they've
do
been
it.
fairly,
Yes.
and do we incur any expenses for custodial staff or anything to keep the building open for us and such?
Very minimal.
We do have some,
There's no fee because we're town government.
but we have to cover the costs for their folks
But
to
if
come
there's
in.
a custodial person there for other reasons, then yes, there's a slight fee.
And do you know about GTV, if they're able to film it there?
Well, we have our GTV person with us tonight, and we can sort of ask him to respond to that.
I would have Lynn talk to David at GTV.
Thank you. So Lynn, you'll have to contact David at GTV and ask if that is something that can be arranged.
Okay.
Thank you.
The second discussion, the second decision on that same point is, would you like to have that at our January SOAR meeting? And, we could meet at 6 o'clock at Bartlett, have an hour of SOAR commission meeting, and then the residents would come in at 7 o'clock.
Well, I think
Or
February is a
this
little
could be
closer.
February too.
I think February is closer to the construction.
I was even gonna suggest March, if we're potentially can start at the end of April.
I
At
don't
least
wanna- I
it's
don't-
fresh in their minds.
Fresh in their mind, but I don't want to pin ourselves to a short window in case they have questions we have to get back to them, answers and such with. So I think February is a good compromise myself.
The tentative start date is April 4th, per the notice to proceed.
So I will proceed with getting permission from the SAU to hold a meeting in their gymnasium, and chairs would be set up appropriately.
And Lynn will check with the GTV for the availability.
Mhm.
Now,
So-
we could, we could do this on a non-sewer commission meeting night. We could do this as a public hearing, a noticed public hearing, and not have to conduct
True.
a sewer commission meeting.
And it wouldn't have to be taped.
You don't have to tape a,
I think you still have to tape it, don't
it's a
you?
notice, it's a noticed public hearing meeting. I think it has to be recorded, once it's noticed.
I can check on that.
You can
but
check
I-
on that, let us know. But I would suggest we do not include our monthly meeting in that agenda. I would say this is a straight up Louis Street, public hearing for the convenience of the residents down there on the street. And we're gonna send these letters out, registered return receipt.
I can.
Do you think that's necessary to assure that people get them so they don't say, well, I didn't get a letter? I think they need to go registered mail, return receipt.
I can do that.
Because that's the only way you can assure that everyone is duly notified and doesn't say that I didn't get my letter.
Okay.
So before that letter gets signed, we have to have a firm date. So it's going to be
Right.
several days off, or
So why don't we just,
even in our next meeting, we'll,
I don't even have to read this, Dave, because I know you've covered all the points on it, so
So,
I approve of the letter.
we can firm up the date at our next meeting.
Sure. Or we could make a motion tonight to send a letter with the dates, revised dates, and we don't have to have it at another meeting. We could just revise the dates and then, but you're not gonna send it out till when, Lynn? Till sometime in January, right?
Right, probably mid-January, January, depending on when the
Still give us
date
2
is.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So
All right, so we can do it at the next meeting, like you stated. That's fine.
I will confirm the availability of holding a meeting at Bartlett. Lynn will confirm
Whether we need GTV and if so, can we
GTV
do it?
requirements and their.
We'll also check with
ability.
Chet, because it'd be nice to have our selectmen's rep there, because a selectman's always good to be in presence when you're having these
Do you
type of
have
things.
a preference for what evening of the week?
As far as evenings,
Yes.
Tuesday. Tuesday, the second or third, so you make sense that we don't do it, so maybe the third Tuesday.
There, okay.
Okay, so Lynn, would you make a note of that, the third Tuesday of February? Well, that's close to March then, by then. It's good.
Or I can look to the first. Let me figure that out.
If you can do the first Tuesday in the month, just let Lynn know what's
That's
what's
ideal.
convenient for you.
Yep.
And we got all these moving parts. So I'm gonna kick back to Corey and Chet. Do you have anything that you would like to add to the idea of having a public hearing with these folks and hashing out these things prior to us starting work down there?
Given the potential disruption, I think you're doing everything correctly. You're sending out a message that's accurately reporting what to expect, and you're asking for their feedback with enough time to listen to what they have to say and potentially make any reasonable adjustments as necessary. So I think everything that we're doing here is correct.
I agree. Well,
I think the photographs that I'm gonna have you get and download to Dave, that way Dave, when we get, like, the first property that has it, and it's something in the right of way, it looks like maybe number 58, let's take it on the map that we have in front of us. That property would go up on and be identified as number 58, and hopefully the owners would be here, because it's gonna be clearly stated that anything you have in the right of way area is, and we're gonna have all the flags out by then. So they'll be able to identify which side of the flags their walls and trees and
Yeah.
bushes are all on, hopefully. And Eric has told me that he is going to get those flags put out before the end of the week, because we're gonna have a good week this week. So could you sort of touch base with Eric on when it's convenient to go down there and take some photographs of the properties that are gonna be affected?
Yep.
Actually, take photographs of every property on the street.
Yeah,
Frontal view of every house from 58 to 94. Because the other side of the street,
Not just the frontal view, but also standing on the boundary line, looking along the boundary line. Because the photograph will show the flags, the line of the flag.
okay. Now, across the street, do we have anything for the service reconnections that are in the right-of-way, Corey, or is it just on the one side only? The other side is just service reconnects.
I asked Corey to also examine the storm sewer that's on the west side of Lewis Street. Is that going to be reconstructed?
Which is west side, where are we?
Here. This
That is,
drain line
that
here.
is the drain line that I have asked the Public Works Department to contact Granice and Son. They are in the process of getting a quote from Granice to have all this drainage on this side of the street replaced from here all the way down to here as part of this project. I have not gotten an answer back from Eric from.
Hopefully then, by the time this letter goes out in mid-January, we'll know whether to color that line with my shade of yellow saying it's all going to be dug up.
they should have their quote back probably tomorrow, they were saying.
Okay. Because they did like the numbers for the Phase 2 drainage reconstruction. So hopefully they'll like the numbers for the Phase 1 drainage reconstruction, because it would be, and Public Works Director agrees, it's in our best interest to take the whole road up, fix everything, and put the whole road back one shot, and not have to have the people inconvenienced. Public Works will do the inspections on their own drainage, hopefully, and we'll have our inspectors working on the sewer inspection. So, this is little things we can work out.
So, Chet,
Yes.
this potential meeting we're having in February, that sentence that I highlighted, it's a public hearing. Is that the correct? It's not a public meeting.
Yeah, I think hearing makes
Hearing.
sense.
Hearing is the correct word there, public hearing?
Yep.
Okay, so you're gonna change that, obviously. All right,
Public information meeting.
and
We're soliciting feedback, so it wouldn't be hearing till, right? Does that make sense? Yeah.
now, Mike, from your angle here, the contractor has included line items to move things as requested, correct? The little walls and the trees and things that are in the.
It's part of, it's part of the site preparation and restoration. I think.
Do you, if you could attend that meeting as well, if there were questions about what the contractor's responsible for, it would be appreciated if you were able to attend that meeting.
Sure.
I know it'll be 2 meetings for you in 1 month.
It's okay,
We'll keep you advised of
that's what I
that.
do.
Do you have any input on this at this time? Mike?
I don't think so. I think it's a great idea.
As a matter of fact, this drawing would be nice to have in a larger type print on like a piece of plan paper, and we could pin it to the wall and the people could actually see the overall project as well. So maybe we can get that duplicated, Corey, by way of the Public Works Department if it's possible, otherwise we'll have to send you to Spillers or someplace with this.
I can give it to you in one PDF,
Perfect. Then I can
and
just
then
send
you
it to
can
the
enlarge
public.
it to whatever size paper you have in stock.
If they can't do it, we'll go to Spillers or someplace.
We should be, if he has a PDF of it, we should be able to do
Just
it.
print it right
My,
off.
my drawing already is one continuous PDF. I
Okay.
just slide the image over to the printable area.
Okay.
Good. All right, any other discussion on this Louis Street meeting we're trying to set up with the folks that live in the neighborhood? Okay. Old business, East Union Pump Station sign package. I did not bring the documents with me tonight, so that's gonna be a short piece. Basically, the Board of Selectmen has still asked me to return to the board with a print of how our signs are gonna be located on the East Union Pump Station driveway where the parking is gonna be designated and excluded. So I think maybe you and I should mark the print up together before I bring it into the meeting, because you know the lay of the land down there. And we're gonna have to get the verbiage from the town for the correct signage that states about the hours when the park is gonna be open or closed. We're not calling it a park, when the waterfront is open or closed to the public. And something about alcoholic beverages, there's also a sign needs to be printed regarding that. And we probably should have a sign for the gate that, no parking, fire department access or something to that effect.
I think I can talk to Jeff Wright. He takes care of all the signs for
Well, that's good.
Public Works, so
That's good.
he might have templates and for all.
If not, I just need to know what we're gonna write on the print
Mhm.
to present to the Board of Selectmen so that I don't put on the wrong sign that has the wrong language on it. And that way the selectmen can approve it and we can get going on that in the springtime.
Do you want it put on next month's agenda, or do you want to wait and put it on February?
I would say February, because this doesn't have to be done until spring when we actually gonna start closing the gate. So that'd be good for the March, February or March.
February or March.
February, March agenda, either one. All right, we have this new position, job duties, that Corey has been working on. This is on the agenda because we had questions about this at a prior meeting, or why is this back on the agenda?
I had some questions, but
Okay, thank you.
because when I was looking at, you weren't here, so it was kind of, we pushed it to when you would be
Yeah.
here. I had some questions about these duties and where, I think what I'm looking to find out is how much redundancy is in it. And not because it shouldn't be there, but how much redundancy is in it, what's the separation of the job description. Tim had already pointed me to the job description, and I feel much more comfortable with everything now. I think it looked more like, to me, some generalities, and I can't remember, Tim, I had one specific, I can't remember now, and I looked at it again before we started, but I had one that I wanted to ask about specifically, and I wish I could, maybe it's in the minutes.
Well, if we just briefly go.
Yeah, we can go through them all.
I
Briefly go
think
through.
it was working with contractors, you
Mhm.
wanted more
Yeah, that's what-
information on that
Yes,
one.
thank you. Yep, that's the one.
Thank you, Lynn.
But we can go through them all if you want, and then we'll get to that
We
one.
don't really have to go through them
Okay.
all, because basically, in my understanding, Chet, is that this potential hire has to be able to do Corey's job when Corey's not here.
Correct, yep, I get that.
So every duty that Corey has, including some of his MS4 work for the reporting, this new hire, we're hoping could at least have a basic understanding of it, so that in the event that Corey was out for any period of time for any health reasons or his vacation time or something, that this person would be able to assist effectively as a sort of an assistant
Yep,
at this point.
Yep.
Obviously, Corey works for us, and we love him, and we wanted to keep him, but who knows what happens to people in time. So
Sure.
this is almost like pre-training someone else to help out in the event of a change of employment as well.
Yep.
We really got clubbed over the head when both Mikes retired within a nod of each other.
Yep.
So, and the fact too, as we stated prior, that Corey doesn't get to split the on-call with anyone, as Mike and Mike used to split it almost 50-50.
right,
So he does need to have a life as well, so
agreed.
if we can get someone that's up to speed for things, including emergency calls, then Corey can have a life outside of the sewer department.
Yep, I agree, it's not sustainable, we do want to keep you, so it's not sustainable to have one person on call, so I think this makes sense. The, just for the record, when possible, unless you are for some reason completely out and unable to do the job, you make a final call on all of these things with contractors, etc. So that will be clear to whoever this hire is. I think that was my concern, now that I think about it, it's exactly what are the parameters under which this person can make decisions with contractors or independently working, so
It
that's,
would
that
go
was,
through me.
okay.
And
Then I'm
like, working with contractors, just to expound on that.
Yeah.
Is, we have stuff that breaks all the time in
Sure.
these buildings. And we have certain contractors we use to come in, and I should put, I don't know if that's the right verbiage or not, but you never leave them alone in there.
Right. Right.
So somebody, it could be a 2-day project, or it could be, who
There's
knows
two-
how long.
There's multiple reasons why you don't leave them alone. First reason is safety.
Sure.
Second reason is you have to inspect the work. Work has to be inspected. So it's important that our assigned person is there when they need to be.
Supervising contractors and something like that.
Yeah, pretty
Yep.
much.
That makes sense. I think my thing, and I think you've explained this to me, any decisions of consequence come back to you.
I take the fall.
That's what I would just want, not to fall, but we, as Tim said, we trust you, you've done a great job, so that's what we're looking at. So I think I'm good, unless there's anyone else that has additional questions.
We were very good, we went through this fairly long time with Corey on working on it, and I feel it covers off. Has everything been covered in this list, Dave, in your opinion?
Yep, looks good. Thank you, Corey.
All right, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So, we also have to discuss in the event that we do get this passed in our budget, which I'm hopeful we will, we are gonna have to purchase another vehicle, Dave, to have as an on-call vehicle, and it's gonna have to be parked here at this building for the person to drive when they're out doing work during the day. So I'm not opposed to buying a used vehicle. We might even be able to buy a surplus Town of Goffstown vehicle. Or maybe even end up with one of the surplus police cars somehow through the motor pool hand down. But we'll work with that, but we're certainly willing to buy a vehicle if necessary. And I don't think we need to be anything more than a small pickup truck at this point. Okay. So Dave and I have already bumped into each other on this subject, and we both agree that purchasing a vehicle is probably going to be a requirement. Okay. All right. AP warrants, yep. Other business as warranted, I have one item. Dave, do you have anything under other business as warranted?
No, I don't.
I was thinking that, you know, we have these calls for contractors to come out for emergency repairs, and Corey sort of runs a list of what everybody, you know, in town who's available to help us with. I wonder if we shouldn't put out an annual bid for a contractor to be on call and get all the rates in advance, emergency rates for holidays or whatever comes into play. And I think if you could start thinking about that, Corey, I would think that we would want to put out an RFP for sewer repair, emergency repairs, and have a contractor that's going to dedicate themselves to us in return for the service and their rate. And we can put it out in an RFP. If we get multiple bids, that's great. If we get one bid, since we put it in an RFP, and we get one bid, we can accept one bid. And that includes all the contractors that are in Goffstown and Pinardville. I mean, all of them. And I would really like to see it stay in town. I'm a firm believer in people who pay taxes in their town should try to be at least considered seriously for work in town. So I would like to start working on the possibility of putting an RFP out for an annual, and it could coincide with the budget. So it could start like in April when our new money is technically approved, even though our budget starts in January. But there's no reason why we can't get something out that would carry us even if to the end of the year. I don't really want to change ships in the middle of the winter, so I'm thinking we should have a contract that probably runs July 1, till July 1, June 30 or something.
Yeah.
So we can change ships in the middle of the summer when it's less likely that a problem could be a bigger problem.
Yep.
Okay? So that's my way of thinking about what we ought to be considering. Dave, you have any input on that?
No, I don't.
Thank you. All right, that's the only thing I had as other business is warranted. Mike, did you have anything for us tonight
I
in
did.
regards to your end of the stick here?
I did.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had sent a proposed amendment number 2, to the design contract for the Elm Street.
Did you send it to
upstairs.
my email and I didn't respond?
I sent it to Lynn and Corey and the 3 sewer commissioners. That was for
Does somebody have a
consideration.
copy of it? Because we were authorized to sign it, as I believe, correct? Or
Yes.
not?
You didn't send the one for me to have him sign.
Dave has
though,
one right in
did
front
you?
of him. Dave, put to Dave. So I'm happy to, with the other commissioner agreement, I will sign it right now and hand it right back to you.
It's for bidding phase for Elm Street Pump Station.
Do you have a copy with you, Mike?
I do.
All right, then slide it right over here.
I have 3. actually.
All right, we'll send them all over then, please, and I'll sign them all up for you.
No, I have 2.
Do you want copies on that, or would you provide Lynn with copies after the fact?
Always, yeah.
You can send them to me after you sign them.
Yeah, this is a 4-pager.
Okay, so once these are signed, are we okay with you folks, or do we have other things that we have to discuss on this subject?
No, that's it. We'll get it out to bid. You can actually keep one of those originals tonight if you want.
Sorry, I remember you saying you sent it to everybody, but I didn't realize there was something for me to do with it.
I was remiss too. I should have noted it. for
What
the
is
agenda.
today's date, the 14th?
14th.
What month is this?
2021 before you ask.
Okay, that's that one, that's one of them, right then, Mike?
Yep.
And I'll take the other one, please.
This one goes to you, Lynn?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike, anything else other than the unsigned documents?
Yes. At the last meeting, you talked about moving forward with the structural repairs to the pump stations.
Okay,
So I did ask our structural group to put together a draft contract for that and, a fee proposal, which they did, and I reviewed, and I had some comments and questions on it. I sent that back to them, so they're revising it. So as soon as they get that back, I'll send that over for your review and consideration.
all right, so before you move on, Commissioner repairs. How are we gonna fund these repairs to the pump station? Are we gonna fund them under an emergency repair and then just get money from the trustees of the trust fund to fund these repairs? You suppose that's an appropriate funding source? I'm asking you.
I don't have an answer to that.
You don't have an
No.
answer.
I thought we were going to make an amendment to the project to include it.
No, that's something different.
Yeah.
This is totally different from the pump station repair. This is the East Union Street, am I correct? East Union Street, structural damage to the building and roof replacement,
In Riverview Park.
and Riverview Park building as well.
Yeah.
So, we,
It's not a present line item to do
No,
that
it's not.
capital expense. It is a capital expense, so it should come out of our capital reserve.
our sewer funds.
Yes.
Yeah, but what we'll do is we'll get our 3 bids or whatever our proper proceeding is for finance, and then we will request funding from the trustees of the trust funds to release some of our trust funds that are funds that are held in trust with them for the payment of these projects, because these were not planned on, these are classified, I believe, as emergency repairs. Okay. So that's the funding source we're gonna use to take care of this thing. Okay, Mike, you can proceed, please. That was it?
That was it.
Okay, good, well, thank you. And do you have a possible date you expect to be able to report to us when we would be seeking bids for this work?
For the,
For the East Union Pump Station masonry work and roof repair? Sometime in the spring?
yeah, I'll have to talk to our
We're looking
structural
for,
guys
I'm hoping
about
for a
that.
spring.
Yeah.
And,
I think it's a fairly straightforward design, because what I discussed with them was to try to keep it simple, have drawings, and then ideally have like any specifications that we need
Yep.
right on the drawings,
right.
so we can avoid a big thick spec book.
For instance, the rubber roof needs to be a certain mill, and you have.
We'll probably need bid forms, things like that, contract forms, that sort of thing, but
We'll rely on.
trying to keep it simple.
I think that's a great idea, keep it as simple as you can. And for discussion tonight, I don't think we should exclude the rest of the building from the roofing proposal. I think we should,
The whole roof has to be done.
I think we have
It's
to
leaking
consider-
in the other portion of the building now.
I think we need to replace the entire roof on the entire structure. So that's gonna be a note to you, to let your folks know that we're not just gonna work on the one roof, we wanna do the whole.
Yeah, I've
complex.
already made them aware of that.
Good, excellent, excellent. Okay. All right. Anything else? Chet, do you have anything for us tonight?
I do not.
Okay, and Corey, do you have anything? Lynn?
Nope.
Okay. Anything else from you, Dave?
Motion to adjourn then.
That's a good word, I like that. I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes.